A very good morning to one and all. I, Dr. Megha Bhatia, Assistant Professor, School of Business Management, IFTM University, is here to give the presentation on motivation and its theories. Motivation has been derived from the word motive, which means anything that initiates or sustains activity. There is nothing impossible in this world. Even the word impossible says I am possible. Therefore, motivation is a need or desire to achieve something in life. Now, moving to the definition of motivation, motivation is the process that accounts for an individual's intensity, direction, and persistence of effort towards attaining a goal. Therefore, there are three elements of motivation without which motivation is incomplete. Number one, intensity means how hard a person tries to achieve his or her goal. Second, direction, where the effort is channelized, whether the person is moving in the right direction or in the wrong direction to achieve his or her goal. And third, the persistence, which means how long the effort of a person is channelized, because the longer the effort is maintained, the more fruitful will be the results. Now, moving to the features of motivation, the first feature says that motivation is an important function of management. Like all other functions, planning, organizing, directing, staffing, and controlling, motivation is also one of the important functions of management. Without motivation, the employees are not directed towards their goals. Second, it is a continuous activity. Motivation is a never ending process because once a goal is being achieved, another goal comes to the mind of an employer or an employee which he or she wants to achieve. Third, it is an internal feeling. Motivation is an internal desire to achieve something in life. Unless and until the person is having a desire in his mind internally, he has an internal feeling, he cannot be directed to achieve a particular goal. Next, it is a pervasive activity, which means motivation is universal in nature. It is not for a single organization or any single industry or any single level, whether it's middle level, lower level, or higher level. It is for all the levels that motivation is required in all the industries and in all the organizations. Related to human factor of production. Like all other factors of production, land, capital, machinery, motivation is not the all like all other factor of production. Rather, it is concerned with the human factor of production because human being is the only one who convert all other productions into a fruitful output. So we need to motivate our human beings, our employees in the organization, so they are dedicated towards achieving their goal. Efficiency improvement concept. Motivation is an efficiency improvement concept in the sense that it also helps the other employees to improve in their areas of concern. For example, if a person is motivated with a better salary, with higher promotion, the other employees also get motivated to work better, to give better productivity, keeping in mind that they will also be promoted if they will perform better. Now, moving to the process of motivation. In the process of motivation, the first step says that a person has an unsatisfied need. Now, what is this need? Need is something without which a person cannot live. For example, a person has a need to earn money. So, here the money acts as a motivator. And because of that unsatisfied need, there is tension among the person. Tension, though, seems a negative term, but it is a more powerful term. And when this tension arrives in the mind of a person, there are certain drives or wants. Now, what are these drives or wants? These drives or wants are something without which a person can live. But in order to make the life easy, to make the life luxurious, a person has wants or drives. For example, in order to satisfy the need which is unsatisfied, that is, if a person is needed to earn money, he has to work hard and he has to get promotion to get more money. So because of this drive, because of this want, a person would start working more and more harder. As and when the person starts working harder, he will have promotions, he will have recognitions, he will have acknowledgements, and which leads to reduction of tension in him or her. And finally, he will have a need which is now satisfied, and hence his behavior would be changed, that if he needs success in life, he needs to be motivated to work more and more better. Now coming to the next slide, types or sources of motivation. There are basically two sources of motivation: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Now, what is intrinsic motivation? Intrinsic motivation is a person's internal desire to do something. When a person has an internal feeling that he is to work better, he has to work in accordance to the rules and regulations as devised by the organization, due to such things as he has interest, he has challenge, and he get personal satisfaction to do that particular work, that is known as intrinsic motivation. On the other hand, extrinsic motivation is the motivation that comes outside from the person, such as if he'll work better, if he will work to achieve the productivity of the organization, he will be rewarded, such as pay, bonuses, and other tangible rewards that forces him to work according to the rules and regulations of the organization. So when a person has an internal desire to do something, that is known as intrinsic motivation, and when the motivation comes from outside because of the external forces, that is known as extrinsic motivation. Now coming to the theories of motivation. The first theory of motivation is the Maslow's hierarchy of need theory. This need theory is been given by A.H. Maslow, which represents a need pyramid of a person. The lower order needs are satisfied externally, which are physiological needs and safety needs. And the other three needs are represented as higher order needs, which are satisfied internally among a person. Now, why this pyramid is being shown here in the Maslow's need hierarchy theory? It is because the physiological and safety needs are being satisfied by the maximum people, because these lower order needs are satisfied externally, whereas the area gets lesser while we move above the pyramid, that is through social esteem and self actualization phases. Those are the higher order needs, and the less number of people are able to achieve, since these needs are being satisfied internally. Now let's discuss one by one the needs of a particular person. The first need, which is the psychological needs, it includes hunger, thirst, shelter, sex, and other bodily needs. Once the person is able to fulfill the first level need, he'll move to the next need arise in the mind of a person, which is the safety needs. Now, once the person is satisfied physiologically, the next need comes to his mind includes security and protection from physical and emotional harm. Now he needs a home to live, a better place to live, where he can be protected physically and emotionally. Once the physiological and safety needs are being fulfilled, the next level need arise, that is the social need, which includes affection, belongingness, acceptance, and friendship. Since human being is a social animal, he cannot live alone. So as and when he has all his physical needs fulfilled, all his safety needs fulfilled, he need to be socially belong to the society, and he want friends, so that he or she may share his feelings with their friends. Next need which arise is known as the esteem needs. Esteem needs includes internal esteem factors such as self-respect, autonomy, and achievement, and external esteem factors such as status, recognition, and attention. Now, once the social needs are achieved, self-ego or self-esteem needs arise in an individual, which involves that a person must be known to the society, he has certain self-respect, he need to be recognized, he must gain the attention of the people in the social belongingness, and so on. And once the esteem factors are being achieved, the self actualization needs arises, which means the drive to become what one is capable of becoming, or what one wants to become, which includes growth, achieving one's potential, and self fulfillment. And obviously, very less people are self satisfied. They once they are at a platform, they want more, they want more, and a person is never self fulfilled, never self satisfied in the life. So, self actualization phase is achieved by very less number of people. So Maslow says a person is motivated according to his or her needs. A person must move in an hierarchical manner if he has to fulfill his or her needs. Individual cannot move to a higher order need unless and until a lower order need of a person is satisfied. Now moving to the next theory, which is known as Eldorfer's ERG theory. It is the reworking of the Maslow's theory, in which Eldorfer has grouped that five need theory of Maslow into three core groups. And those three core groups are: number one is existence, second relatedness, and third growth. The physiological and safety needs cover the existence core group. The social group covers the relatedness, and the self esteem and self actualization needs cover the growth aspect, or the growth core need group. Eldorfer says that there is no rigid hierarchy of needs. A person can fulfill more than two needs at a time. The first need, or the first core group need, is known as the existence need, which is concerned with providing basic material existence requirement, that is the bare subsistence needs of a person which he has or he needs to live. The second is the relatedness, which means the desire for maintaining important interpersonal relationships, which cover the social needs from the Maslow's theory, that a person is a social animal and he has the desire for maintaining important interpersonal relationships. And the third is the growth needs, which is the intrinsic desire for personal development or the self fulfillment of a person. Now, coming to the more coverage of the Elderfer ERG theory, apart from substituting three needs for five, this theory also advocates that there is no fixed, rigid hierarchy of needs as mentioned in the need theory of Maslow. Elderfer also says that more than one need may be operative at the same time. Elderfer also says that if the gratification of a higher level need is stifled, the desire to satisfy a lower level need increases, which means if a person is not able to fulfill any of his or her need, the desire to achieve a lower level need increases. For example, if a person has a need to buy a car, and the other need he has in his mind that he wants to own a house. See, the car though is a matter of few lakh rupees, and a home may be a factor of more rupees, but a person needs to assess that which level need is more important to him or her, whether he should save money in order to buy a home first because that is the priority, or he may buy a car and may keep the preference or the need to buy a home later. So the gratification of a higher level need is stifled if the desire to satisfy and the desire to satisfy a lower level need increases. Now coming to the next theory, that is McGregor's theory X and theory Y. Now McGregor says that there are two different set of people. One belong to theory X and the other belong to theory Y. Now, what are the people or the set of people who belong to theory X, the assumption that employees inherently dislike work, will attempt to avoid it, and must be coerced, controlled, or threatened with punishment if they are to perform. They avoid responsibility, seek direction, and display little ambition. So, theory X people are those people from the mind of the employees, that they are those employees, those who will dislike work. They'll not accept the work as given to them or the challenges as given to them. If they are to work, they have to be threatened, they have to be punished, they have to be coerced and controlled all the time if they are to be performed in the organization. Such persons are those persons which avoid responsibility, and every time they need supervision, every time they need to have direction, that they have to move at this path or that path, and these persons are not very much ambitious. Contrary to it are the people that belong to theory Y, which says that these are such employees, those who like work, they are creative, they seek responsibility, and can exercise self direction and self control. They do not need any supervisor, they do not need any leaders to control them, though they are self directed and self controlled individuals. They are always ready to accept challenges. They always engage themselves in innovative and participative decision making, and they have high ambition. So, McGregor's theory X and theory Y is basically the assumptions that the employers can have and divide the individuals accordingly in order to identify that the people belong to theory X and theory Y, and different techniques of motivation can be used to motivate them, to work them in the organization. Now, moving to the next theory, Herzberg's motivation hygiene theory. Herzberg motivation hygiene theory is also known as dual factor theory. We have often heard about the terms satisfaction and dissatisfaction, but according to Herzberg motivation hygiene theory, satisfaction and dissatisfaction are not the opposite of each other, rather, they are the constructs. The hygienic factors are the extrinsic factors and they are related to dissatisfaction, whereas the motivators are the intrinsic factors and they are related to satisfaction. Now, what are hygiene factors? Hygiene factors are necessary but not sufficient for healthy adjustment. When these factors are adequate, people will not be dissatisfied. So, Herzberg says that hygiene factors are necessary to sustain in any organization to motivate the people. When these factors are adequate, people will not be dissatisfied. Now, these are basically the extrinsic factors related to the context of work. For example, company policy and administration, relationship with one's supervisor, interpersonal relationships with one's peers, working conditions in the organization, salary, pay, and packages. Now, what are motivators? Motivators are the sources of satisfaction. These are basically the intrinsic factors related to the content of work. For example, if we need to motivate the employees, we have to give them achievement, we have to recognize their work, we have to give them challenging, varied, or interesting work, we have to give them responsibility, advancement, as well as growth. The Herzberg motivation hygiene theory says that the traditional view depends upon that whether the person is satisfied or the person either would be satisfied or dissatisfied. But the Herzberg divided his theory into two parts, motivators, which says that if these motivators are present, a person would be satisfied, and if they are not present, the person would not be satisfied. And hygiene factors are the extrinsic factors, and if they are present, a person would not feel dissatisfied, and if they are present, a person would not feel dissatisfaction. There are certain critics of Herzberg's theory. The reliability of Herzberg methodology is questioned since no overall measure of satisfaction was used. There is no scale to measure the satisfaction of any individual. whether I'm satisfied with my job or I'm not satisfied with my job. There is no scale to measure that satisfaction. And lastly, the theory is inconsistent with the previous research since it ignores the situational variables. At one time in the same organization, with the same facilities, with the same working condition, a person may feel motivated. But with the other point of time, or at the other point of time, a person with the same methods, with the same technology, with the same working condition might face unsatisfied. So there is the situational variables are being ignored here. Now coming to the next theory, that is Mechlen's theory of need. Mechlen theory of needs, this Mechlen gave three important needs to explain motivation. The first need is the need for achievement, which says the person's drive to excel, to achieve in relationship, to a set of standards, to strive to succeed. And in order to fulfill this need for achievement, a person must have desire to do things better than others. He must have moderately challenging goals. He should be able to take personal responsibility for problem solving. He must seek rapid feedback on performance. The second need is the need for power, which means the need to make others behave in a way that they would not have behaved otherwise. See, when a person feels powerful, he starts behaving in a manner that he would not have behaved in the previous part of his life. So for this, the person has the desire to have impact on others. He must be influential and have the power to control others. Such persons are more concerned with prestige and status. The next need is the need for affiliation, which means the desire for friendly and close interpersonal relationships. And to fulfill this need, a person prefer cooperative rather than competitive situation. A person when has the feeling of empathy, when a person has a need for having a friendly desire rather than competitive situation, then only a person is able to fulfill the need for affiliation. And a person should also have the desire relationships that involve a high degree of mutual give and take, that is the mutual understanding. Now, summarizing the various needs theory we have studied as far, Maslow has given the hierarchical need theory. 5 needs have been given by H. Maslow. The first need was physiological, security, affiliation, esteem, and self-actualization need, which Eldorfer has uh, divided into 3 core needs, covering physiological and security needs into the existent needs, affiliation consisting into the relatedness, and self-actualization and esteem need comprises the growth needs. Further, Herzberg says that if a person need to grow, motivators are required to be present, and in order to have relatedness and existence needs to be fulfilled, hygiene factors are required to be present, which further Mechlen summarizes, giving that in order to have motivators or in order to motivate the people, a person must have a need for achievement and need for power. And for hygiene factors, or if the hygiene factors are present in any organization or individual, it can fulfill the need for affiliation of any person. Summarizing the various hierarchy of needs, Maslow argues that lower order needs must be satisfied before one progresses to higher order needs. That means there is a rigid hierarchy of needs. Before fulfilling a lower order needs, a person cannot move to a higher order need. Herzberg says that hygiene factors must be met if person is not to be dissatisfied. They will not lead to satisfaction, however, if they are present, and motivators lead to satisfaction. Eldorfer says that more than one need can be important at the same time. If a higher order need is not being met, the desire to satisfy a lower order need increases. Mechlen summarizes that people vary in the types of needs they have. Their motivation and how well they perform in a work situation are related to whether they have a need for achievement, affiliation, or power. Now, the support and criticism of various theories. Maslow's need theory has certain critics which says that research does not generally validate the theory. In particular, there is little support for the hierarchical nature of needs. It is criticized for how data were collected and interpreted. The critics of Herzberg theory is not it is not really a theory of motivation. It assumes a link between satisfaction and productivity that was not measured or demonstrated. The theory we have already discussed about theory X and theory Y. The critic for that theory was that there were mere assumptions, not a theory, that people could be divided into two basic constants, that a people can be theory X people or a theory Y people, and that can only be an assumption. The critic of the Alderfer theory says that Alderfer theory ignores the situational variables. And the McLean theory is a mixed empirical support, but theory is consistent with the knowledge of individual differences among people and good empirical support, particularly on needs achievement. Thank you and have a good day.